Hello and welcome to the Perth Gaming Crew Show. My name is Jonathan. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Johnny. Johnny, I don't even need to ask how you're doing today because we are covering one of your favourite series of all time. But how are you today, my friend?
Doing really well. Really excited about today and super thrilled to have Jemma back from the Pure Nintendo podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. One of my favorite series also, so very excited to talk to you guys about this exciting series that's celebrating an exciting anniversary.
Awesome. Yeah, Jemma, we are thrilled to have you back. We know you're a huge Legend of Zelda fan, and what better way to celebrate the 40th anniversary? Given Nintendo doesn't want to do it themselves, we'll do it for them on the Pure Nintendo podcast, yours, and the Perth Gaming Crew podcast, ours, and celebrate all things The Legend of Zelda. So yes, today, people of Perth and beyond, we're going to talk about The Legend of Zelda series. We're specifically going to focus on the top-down 2D games, just because there's too many bucket loads of Zelda games to cover all at once. And we might do a special on the 3D game series a bit later down the track. But before we get into the games themselves, we might start with a little history lesson and some basic facts about the series. Johnny, lead the charge.
Yeah, thanks, John. And yeah, if your favourite Zelda game isn't mentioned today, don't worry. We'll come back. There's always, in 40 years worth of Zelda, it's a lot to cover in an hour or so. So we couldn't inflict a 3.5 hour episode on the people of Perth and beyond today. But just wanted to highlight how like the Legend of Zelda series is such an incredible institution in gaming generally. Just on like sales of the games in the series alone it's been definitely one of Nintendo's big performers. Like I think it's like something like, depending on how you count exactly, around 180 million units worldwide over
roughly 180.
Roughly across all entries in the series, and that of course includes the 3D entries in the series. And look, to be really fair, some of the more recent 3D Zelda games like Breath of the Wild, etc., are the ones that are really sold like hotcakes. But the 2D Zelda games are responsible for setting a template that later games really did follow, and also responsible for some incredible, one or two really important innovations in gaming. The original Legend of Zelda game that released first on the Famicom and then elsewhere on the Nintendo Entertainment System had a major impact in that it had a battery backup save feature. So for really the first time, gamers didn't have to rely on long convoluted passwords to save a game. And that, I think, did really help games move from more or less single-screen arcade-style adventures to being able to explore a huge world. For 1986 and 1987, as the game released around the world, The Legend of Zelda, the Hyrule of the original Legend of Zelda, was quite expansive, particularly as kids growing up. It was something special. Jemma, did you have that experience playing the original game back in the day as well?
Do you remember that it came with like a fold-out map as well? That was like partially complete. And so you could go and draw in the rest if you wanted to as you discovered new areas. But yeah, as a kid, like the world was huge, honestly. And so fun to explore. And I mentioned this on the Pure Nintendo podcast a couple of weeks ago for the anniversary as well. You guys might have already been aware of this, especially you, Johnny, but I didn't know until recently that this whole world, because Miyamoto is obviously the creator of Legend of Zelda, he based the concept on his own childhood exploration of his hometown, sort of north of Kyoto, whatever the name of it is. I just love that. I think that's just so cool and lovely to have that, tie-in,
that's
I suppose.
really cool. It's cool background to understand the inspiration for this is like that part of Japan that Miyamoto-san is from is probably now fairly, because of sort of urban sprawl and that kind of thing, kind of semi-urban. But I think at that time it was quite rural, and so yeah, he's the things you see in this game are like inspired by Miyamoto being a kid and like just going out into the forest or into caves and stuff, and that's translated into the game, and that's incredibly charming, isn't it?
It is. He even had a lantern, I think, at one point. He found a cave and it was too dark, so the next day he came back with a homemade lantern of some sort.
Did he use
So
a bomb
cool.
to open the cave, though? That's what I want to know. And why were all the octopuses like in his hometown so vicious? Were they spitting rocks at him like and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Great imagination.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me personally, like I remember glimpses of the original NES game growing up, and it was just like a standout among all the other NES games. But I was more into beat 'em ups, playing games like Battletoads or Double Dragon 3, and then Zelda was just this incredible, like you said, Jim, it's this incredible world on of its own that you need to explore, and you do need to use the booklets we had back at the time, and you need to write down where you're going and remember everything and take note of things and keep track of things this way. It's a very different gameplay experience than I guess anyone growing up these days would ever have coming into gaming for the first time compared to what we had. Yeah, but Johnny, did you want to talk more a little about the OG?
Well, I recently replayed it over the last couple of weeks, and that's my first time picking it up for at least 20 years. This is one of the games I probably would replay from time to time, periodically during my uni years. But it was a good reminder of this. This was a challenging game back in the day, and still is to this day, particularly the last couple of dungeons. I had to do quite a lot of backtracking through prior dungeons to get through the final dungeon with Ganon in his like classic blue pig form. Yeah, like for example, I was just telling John before we jumped on, Gemma, that I had made the mistake of not picking up the master key in the level 8 dungeon, and that made my life very, very difficult in Ganon's dungeon because there are a lot of locked doors and it's very labyrinthian. It's almost like it could almost be inspired by like the labyrinth of King Minos on the island of Crete or something like that, because it's very labyrinthine. But one thing I wanted to highlight is this game didn't hold your hand. It didn't. There are no cracks in the walls to tell you where to bomb, John. You really, it's really trial and error. You're just trial and error.
Yeah.
I thought the original Metroid on NES was like hard enough. This is even more hardcore than that.
Yeah,
like
I would go along every screen, bombing every section of wall to try to find the hidden area.
And then you run out of bombs, so you have to go killing enemies so you can collect bombs again, so you can keep doing that.
Yeah.
And there are some caves where not necessarily always a reward. Early in my playthrough in the last fortnight, I bombed a section of cliff face. I went into a cave and the guy told me I paid to repair my door. I thought, what door? This was just a rock face. So I got suckered by the cave scams of Legend of Zelda right away.
Thanking you for giving him an exit. Like he's trapped in it.
Yeah, that's true. Like, how is he getting out of that place? He should be grateful. All the
game has a good sense of humor. It had some kind of quirky stuff like that.
Structurally, though, Johnny, because you've played so many of the latter games, and even like the cracks, like that's just a hallmark to me of all the top-down Zelda games that I've played. It's like, well, there's the crack, I bomb it, or there's like two like there's two statues either side. I'm like, all right, what's the middle bit for? And you figure out that that's an indicator. You need to bomb in between. But how is it going back these days? Like, you've got those childhood memories, but how is it going back these days? Is it still playable? Does it still have the core DNA of Zelda games? Are the things you enjoyed about it?
I still enjoyed it, like recognizing the challenge, and a lot of these like hidden areas. They're almost like muscle memory from playing this a lot in my youth.
Wow.
But yeah, just acknowledging it was a challenging game for its day, and still remains to be quite a challenge. But you can kind of see a lot of the sort of the DNA of this game finds its way into some of the more recent entries like Breath of the Wild. Like you've got that the sense of exploration that you get in that big open world game. You kind of get it in this form, in this 8-bit version. And that in itself is an impressive feat.
And there's no real guide. I understand, like it's not leading you like point A to point B to point C with clear instructions and all that kind of thing. It's find it out yourself.
You just dropped in the middle of the world, and hopefully you have the instinct to go into that cave and find the old man who tells you it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, and he hands you the first, very basic entry level sword that you start the game with, which you do want to try and upgrade as soon as you can, because further as you go far into the game, you find that your little brown, I think it's meant to be like an iron, maybe a bronze sword or something. It's not very effective, but once you want to upgrade to your white sword and eventually your magic sword, if you want to try and finish this game and not pull all your hair out.
Yeah, fair enough. How about you, Gemma? Like, how do you feel about going back to this game, like compared to more modern titles as well?
Question.
Like, is it something that still would hold up, or is it something you just look back on fondly, or you can still see the DNA there?
It's a bit of both. I think I have replayed it, not as recently as Johnny. I did replay it, I think maybe on my 3DS, but this would have been probably over 10 years ago. And I mean, the DNA is absolutely there, from enemies like, Zora is obviously there. A lot of the enemies still exist in modern Zelda games, so that sort of DNA is definitely present. The swords, the upgrading of the swords, even though it's not the Master Sword, is it? It's not.
No,
It's
the
called
magic in the instruction booklet. I think it was the magic sword, the final sword you get in the game. Yeah.
Obviously Ganon, he's the protagonist, or Ganon becomes Ganondorf, but Ganon is the protagonist that's always been there, and he's part of the Trinity. So Zelda, Link, and Ganon are the Trinity, as it were.
Yeah.
So I think it still holds up. Like I said, I haven't played it for a good 10 years. Yeah. And like Johnny, I would have that nostalgic, like, oh yeah, I remember where the dungeon entries are. And you could go to dungeons out of order, right? Some of them, if you found them accidentally, but you'd be way underpowered.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily a good idea to do that. Yeah, but you can do that in sort of Tears of the Kingdom, right? You can go almost in any order there as well. So that's sort of present. Not all games are like that, though, in the Zelda series, are they? Some of them are a bit more, you need to go in order. So it's almost like they've circled back a little bit to that concept. Yeah.
Actually, well, speaking of going on in order in terms of Zelda series, we might move on to the next game. And I have a very different experience to two of you with the top-down 2D Zelda series. I haven't played as many of the games as you both did. I only had touched on them growing up, and have more recently played through some of the, I guess, classic, well, one classic one and one a little bit more modern. The first one that I caught up with was the Zelda Minish Cap, on your recommendation, Johnny. And first of all, so I'm playing this on the Nintendo Switch online, and first of all, it's a fantastic experience, like in terms of just holding up visually, aesthetically, like the music is really lovely. I never had a Game Boy Advance growing up, and I played Metroid Fusion last year on your recommendation, Johnny, and coming to this, I feel like I've really missed like a really great handheld console because it just looks so good. It almost looks better than A Link to the Past on the SNES, a bit more detailed animations. And then the actual visual style has a fusion of my favorite Zelda game, which is a 3D Zelda game, The Wind Waker. But I'm seeing Link in this format, so it's nice to come back after playing a game like The Wind Waker on the GameCube years ago and go, all right, what were the games I missed? Oh, this is like a 2D kind of Wind Waker in some ways, without all the sailing, of course. So yeah, this is great. This has got a much more kind of cute vibe to it, I would say. So essentially, yeah, Zelda and Link go to this Picori festival, which is the Minish, the race of tiny human beings. It's held every 100 years. And it's kind of funny. Zelda's just like running from shop to shop. She's like, let's look at this. And Link catches up. Then she goes, no, look at this. And you're like, oh, slow down. Like, this is not the Zelda I'm used to. Just slow down. Like, one thing at a time. And before you know it, as Link delivers this sword for the festival, gets interrupted by Vati, he's the key villain, destroys the sword, unleashes all the monsters in the world, as you do, and Zelda turns to stone, and Link is tasked with basically restoring this Picori blade. Needs to find the 4 elements to do so. But I found it really interesting that this game was developed by Capcom, not Nintendo, but it feels very much like a Zelda game. So it's got all the core elements like bombing walls, your bow and arrow, that little magical sound you get when you solve a puzzle and it goes and like a key falls down, and it's just so satisfying. It's like, oh, I could get used to that. I really miss that from back in the day. But it is a very guided experience compared to, I can't even imagine, and as I was saying beforehand, playing Zelda on the NES. I don't know if I could do it. The bombing walls bit, Jemma, that's too much. I can't deal with that. I'm too old for that. Or not too old for that. Yeah, I should have done it back in the day when I could tolerate it. I like it in this game that you've got Ezio, who is the Minish Cap, who accompanies Link throughout his journey, and at any time you can press the minus select button to go, hey, remind me what I need to do or where I need to go or point you in the right direction. That's me to a T. I need that every 5 seconds. It's like, is it this screen? Is it this screen? Is it? No, not quite. So overall, I just really enjoyed this game. I think it was the aesthetics that really stood out to me. Probably a key gimmick, not really a gimmick, but a key part of this game is that you shrink down as Link. And whatever you're in, whether it's a dungeon or you're in the town, it really changes. So, for example, you might be walking through an area that's raining as they're just like normal size Link, but when you shrink down, it becomes these really dangerous droplets that you've got to avoid because you'll be smashed to bits. So there's a lot of kind of a play on the different sizes. And then here we see one of the early dungeons. I don't know what these are called. Electric slimes, I like to call them. And I always forget that I shouldn't be hitting them because they electrocute you. And then I forget an hour later. It's like, oh, I'm just going to clean them. Oh, no, electrocuted again. You find a gigantic electric slime who you need to like suck the goo out of to make them smaller. Spoiler alert, it's not a hard one. You'll figure it out pretty quickly, people of Perth and beyond. But yeah, I really enjoyed just I don't think it's quite a gimmick. I think it's like a really enjoyable game mechanic where you shrink down and you go to full size. Like there's one of the more memorable quests for me is like where you go to Lon Lon Ranch and the ranch owner has locked his key in the house. And you're like, all right, I'll just scoot through the little purpose-built Minish door on the outside of your house. Has everyone got mice or something? And that's just where the Minish live. Go inside, get the key, bring it out. He's like, oh, thank you so much. You can now get to that side of the screen and like feed my cow's milk. Wonderful. And that unlocks some things. But yeah, really, really, I think it's like a really warm game to start with, to say, and it really holds up well. But Jemma, I believe you've played this one too.
Yes. I think I didn't own this one. I think a friend of mine lent it to me. I love this game. I think it's pure joy almost, really, just because it is a bit different in terms of shrinking down. I think, like I said, it's not a gimmick. It feels like just something new and unique and special for this world. But yeah, no, it has a terrific feel to it. It has a terrific look to it. I really should replay it as well. But how do you find time?
I know.
You've got new games to play, and then you want to play old games. It's like,
yeah, actually, on that, I
memories.
would recommend, like, for people who haven't played a top-down 2D Zelda game, sometimes whether you want to start with the original or not, this is probably a good one to start with because it's not as long and it's kind of smaller in the sense of like the screens were smaller to adapt to the Game Boy Advance. You can see that they've built it in that way, which is quite clever. So it is quite a good one to start off with, and that guidance aspect from the Minish Cap is helpful. If you don't want to go back through guides yourself. But Johnny, you've played this one too. What did you like
I played
about
this
the Minish Cap?
only for the first time about, I reckon, 5 or 6 years ago. But I really enjoyed it. I really like the shrinking, sizing down, sizing up mechanic. I thought that's a really dynamic way to interact with the different environments. And I think this just highlights what a banger the GBA was as a handheld console. What they could achieve on that handheld console was incredible. There's so many great games,
great.
and
It was like a portable Super Nintendo.
Yeah. It was awesome. Like, so I have a lot of love, and I think it's just full of that like classic top-down Zelda charm. This game,
Charm is a good word. Yeah, very charming.
Yeah. I think if you like games like A Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and you're looking for like more of that kind of style of game, but with some new twists, Minish Cap is a great place to go.
Yeah.
And I just also wanted to give a shout out to the library quest, which was one of my favorites in this, whereby you need to get a particular book, but the 3 books have been taken off the shelf, and when you shrink down, it blocks your progress. So you have to interact with the Minish. You're like, oh, it's lost over there, it's lost over there. And like one of the books that's lost, for example, is in the mayor's house. And you go to the mayor's house and you're like, oh, I need this lost book. And he's like, yeah, go find it yourself. I'm the mayor. I don't help other people. Like there's a bit of political commentary, and there's like, oh yeah, I think it's somewhere else. Go figure it out. And then there are Minish in his house that you have to like find. And then like, yeah, the mayor's lost it. Yeah, it's over by his lake house, like his own little private estate, which you now need to go to and navigate. And there's just like some really clever commentary in there in terms of like, society as well, which Nintendo often doesn't do. A bit cheeky, but quite fun. All right, moving on. I think it's fair to say that one of the biggest games in the top-down 2D Legend of Zelda franchise is A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, and that's probably one of the bigger games because a lot more people were aware of it. It's a lot more accessible. There were clearly a lot of improvements or little upgrades to make it, I guess, more playable for a lot of people. But Jemma, can you let us know a little bit about your experiences for The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past?
Yeah, sure. So this was a Super Nintendo game that came out. Was it 1991 in Japan?
91 in Japan, 92 here.
Japan, 92 here. Yes. So for me, the Super Nintendo it's probably my favorite system. I mean, it's hard to say because it's a nostalgic thing again, but I did love the Super Nintendo. I love the Switch. I love the Switch 2. I love the 3DS. I love the Game Boy Advance. But the Super Nintendo does hold a special place in my heart because it felt to me as a kid like a big upgrade from the NES to the Super Nintendo. And it was kind of my first console. The NES was more the family console. And then I got a Super Nintendo for my birthday. So
best birthday present of all time.
Yes, exactly. So, and because I'd just sort of grown up with Mario Brothers on the NES and The Legend of Zelda on the NES, my 2 first kind of main games. And then on the Super Nintendo, you've got Mario World and A Link to the Past. So again, my 2 favorite franchises had direct sequels on the Super Nintendo. I know we had a couple other Marios in between there, but for me, I just loved everything about this game. I think I remember sitting in my, playing this game in my room. I had this little old TV, as you did back in the 90s. And
did you have a little small TV, like one of those little kind of? Yep. Plug in the white, red, and yellow. Yep.
Yes. The AV, was it AV?
AV and audio in there. Yeah. Miss those days.
And things like at the beginning of the game, how it's like raining, and there's that moody kind of music. So this is a darker game, I think, especially compared to Minish Cap. You're kind of thrown right into it where, so Zelda's been kidnapped. Ganon has opened up. Well, he's really a minion of his. Well, not even a minion.
Yeah, the wizard. The wizard.
The wizard. He's trying to breach the world beyond Hyrule, and it's become this dark world. So there's the light and the dark. You've got kind of 2 segments to the game where you first have to go about getting the 3, is it the pendants? I think they're called.
I thought that was the whole game. I thought when I played it, I was like, I've only got to get 3 pendants and the Master Sword. I'm almost done.
I know. That's right. I know. And I think a lot of people thought that at the time too. So there's a whole new world to explore. So.
Incredible reveal of what that you were going into this much bigger adventure, and at that moment where you defeat Aghanim the wizard the first time, and he sends you into
Yeah.
the dark world, and he leaves you there you're on top of a pyramid, and you go, oh wow, this game is much, much bigger than I could have
Hmm.
possibly anticipated. And that
Yeah.
is a really cool dynamic when you're going back and forth between the light and dark
Visually,
worlds.
that temple, because
Yeah.
well, that palace or whatever it is, I've come across that not long ago. Just the back of it, it's like this really post-apocalyptic view. And I was like, whoa, am I playing a traditional JRPG here, not Zelda? And what is going on? It's all flipped on its head. But sorry, Gemma, tell us more.
Oh no,
Love hearing
you're all
this.
good.
Yeah.
No, and I love that because I think that I don't know if you call it a dichotomy or just
Hmm.
the parallel worlds is another recurring theme a little bit. Like we see it in, I guess even um, the latest games have that underworld, the depths, right? So it and a lot of the games do have even Echoes of Wisdom, I guess, had that kind of two phases of playing almost, if that makes sense. So I love that this was kind of the first, and we didn't mention Zelda 2. I said this was a sequel, but there was a Zelda 2 on the NES, wasn't there? So
We
we
will
won't
just
talk about
ignore
that
that
one.
one. That one gets its own series spotlight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the only
That was
kind of
a
side scroller.
side
Yeah,
scroller,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I
That's
actually
This
love
one,
cool.
I
that
think,
game. Yeah, but
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I need to go and replay that one too, I think, because my memories of that are a bit fuzzy, you know. I did have it though. We had it on the NES. So
yeah. We're
mm,
kind of excluding it today because we're focusing on the top-down overhead view.
yeah.
But
Mm.
Yes.
here on the show, on the Perth Gaming Crew show, we have a lot of love for Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. So
Yeah. I think it's like the black sheep, isn't it? It's
yeah, it
not
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember
I
at
think
the Zelda Universe panel at PAX last year, it kind of
yeah.
got a few people kind of jeered at there was a reference to it somewhere, and I think a few people did jeer. So it's still got its stigma attached to it. But anyway,
Yeah.
no, A Link to the Past is just for me just a timeless
It is.
classic.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is my favorite Zelda game of all time. I love the 3D games, and I have a lot of fond memories of them. I will always play them, of course. You know, from Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild. You know, the Ocarina of Time, of course. But the top downs are just so special to
Mm.
me. I love them. So I was super excited when Echoes of Wisdom came out, for example, because that was a new top down experience. But in this one, I think it was the step up in the music, step up in the graphics, the story, that bit darker story, like I said. But also there's that humor, like you've said in Minish Cap. There's those quirky little characters that you meet. What's the monkey? Kiki? Is it Kiki the monkey?
Kiki the monkey takes
Kiki the
all your
monkey?
money, who asks you for money and like, sure, and then follows
Yeah.
you around. And he just says, I'm going to follow you around. You're like, all right, why not? Like, are you going to help fight monsters for me? Do I need to take
Hmm.
you back to Monkey Land? What do I do with you? And then you find this monkey temple, and then he's like, oh, cool, I'll let you in for like 100 more rupees or whatever. And you're like, and then he's gone. And I'm like, are you coming back? Are you going to, what's that? Like, you get it. Like, I think the character who joins you prior to that is like one of the wise men who joins you in the mountain. And he's like, oh, guide me through
Hmm.
here. And he heals you at the start if you go back to him. Kiki just rocks up and gets your rubies. How rude. But it's, Johnny, this is one of your, well, not one of, this is your
My
favorite
favorite
game
game.
of all
Yeah.
time. So
Nice.
tell us some more about A Link to the Past and what it means for you.
I just love how much love and care they've put into the light world, dark world. Like what you do in one influences the other. So, there are certain dungeons, and I don't want to. I know you're experiencing it for the first time, John. So I'm trying to. I don't want to spoil your experience, but there are some.
You could talk about that early part where you first experienced the dark world.
Yeah, for sure. But
Yeah.
there's an early dungeon. I won't go into details where your actions in one world actually influence how you access the dungeon in the dark world, and there's a few examples of that kind of thing going on. There's just like this world feels alive because you're always coming across there's all these different characters. Like if once you get the Zora flippers and you can swim down the rivers and the lakes and stuff, and you'll be like swimming under the bridge and there'll be like a guy who's just snoozing under. He's just set up a tent under the
I didn't
bridge.
realize you could go under there. It was kind of an
Yeah.
accident. I was like, oh, it's not blocked. Like, I can actually
No.
go under there. And he's just cruising under. He's like, oh, and then he says, I've been waiting for you. It's like, oh, now that you're here, I'll give you this or something. And he gives you an item. And you're like, that was your role in the game. Like, you just slept under this bridge for hours waiting for me to find you with the flippers. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, there's just so much character in the game. Like, they're just really charming. All the bosses are all kind of unique and interesting. I think the dungeons are all really well designed. Yeah, and they each have their own kind of like, different kind of biomes. Like there's you got your desert palace and it's got its, you got like little things coming out of the sand at you, and even the final boss is like a sand worm in that dungeon. And you come across those creatures again later in the game. But yeah, like I have so much time. No matter how many times I come back to Link to the Past, I always have fun playing it, replaying it. And I've lost count how many times I've played Link to the Past. Too many, probably too many.
Not enough. Not enough. If you keep playing it, it speaks to the quality of that game. I wanted to quickly mention, like, among the quirky characters, like Kiki, there is like another within Kakori Village. I think it's
Kakariko Village.
Kakariko Village. In the village, there's like two brothers. You go in, and there's a brother who goes, "Yeah, my brother lives in the other room, and I've walled up the room." I'm like, what? Why can't you just wall up your brother's room? And he's stuck in there. And thankfully, there is a crack in the wall there, which you bomb. And then he's like, oh, you go see the brother. He goes, oh, you've let me out. My brother walled me up. And you go back to that brother and goes, oh, I guess like I can go now talk to my brother. Because that's what you do in real life. You just wall things up like that, lock them in so they're stuck forever. So much quirkiness.
Yeah.
So funny. Johnny, moving on to our next game. We're going to talk a bit about the Oracle of Seasons, which I'm not familiar with, but you and Jemma have played a bit. Tell us a little about that one. I
just wanted to quickly call out 2001's Game Boy Color dual release. There were two games released at the same time. So Zelda almost took a page out of Pokemon's book because it did like two kind of dual games, which they're different games, but they have some similarities, and it's kind of a linking function, which I'll mention in a moment. But the one I've been playing a little bit of recently is Oracle of Seasons, where so it's Game Boy Color, early 2000s, and focuses on an adventure where you're basically it's sort of centered on in the Zelda lore, you have the sort of the expanded sort of Zelda lore, you have like the three goddesses of Hyrule. You have Din, who's considered like representing the goddess of power. You have Nehru, the goddess of wisdom, and there's also a goddess of courage. But in Oracle of Seasons, there's sort of an adventure focused around rescuing Din. And Link comes up seemingly against sort of new threats. It's on the surface, it's not Ganon. But if you do play through all the way through Seasons and then again all the way through Ages, which is focused on the an incarnation of Nehru, you do actually find out that there's Ganon is kind of like the mastermind behind it all. So there was a system on the OG Game Boy Color where you'd complete both games and then have like there'd be like having completed both games, you could have a final boss fight with Ganon. I've only just started playing, as I said, a little bit of Oracle of Seasons. I think it's quite charming. It's obviously it's Game Boy graphics, so you kind of keep your expectations about kind of graphical polish in check a little bit, but it's got a lot of it's a classic 2D Zelda entry, and I'm keen to keep playing through it because it sits in my biased favorite arm of the Hyrule Historia timeline, and that the Heroes Defeated timeline, which also contains A Link to the Past and the NES Zelda games. So I'm likely to keep playing through and try and complete at least Oracle of Seasons, if not both of the Oracle games.
Nice.
Are these available on the Switch Online?
Yeah,
These two?
they're both
okay.
they're in the Game Boy, the OG Game Boy library. So the Game Boy library has
Cool.
has a lot of the Game Boy Color titles, including both of these games. And I think you've got the
Yeah.
option. I'm not sure what the difference is, but there's the US release, but then also the European, probably the PAL release, which we would have got back in the
Yeah,
day.
okay. Did you play the PAL one then? I guess because we're
I
PAL.
can't remember
Power Rangers.
which one I booted up when I played it on NSO
Yeah.
recently, just in the last few days. But yeah, I've been having fun with it. It's recognizing it was for the essentially the Game Boy Color. So it's by today's standards, it's got more basic visuals, but that's never been really an issue for me because I like 8-bit games. It's a good one for any. I think it's a good choice for anyone who likes this style of Zelda game, looking for more, and they're not, from what I can tell, they're not super long experiences as they were for handheld, so not going to be like, I don't know, 70 hours or anything like that to finish these.
It's amazing what they did pack into those little cartridges, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah. Because I picked this up, I bought it on, I think it must have been the DSE shop before that closed down. So we did a series of podcasts, must have been to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Zelda. So maybe 5 years ago, where we went through every game, one episode per game. So it was a long series.
That's awesome.
So when I got to this pair of games, I hadn't tried them. So it must have been just before the eShop closed down. I don't think it was on the Switch Online at that point. So I did download this one and play. I didn't actually finish it at the time, but I played through half of it so I could talk about it on the show.
It's good.
And I think it's, like you said, it's really charming. It's cute. It fits in with the timeline. Like you said, it's in that era, and it fits in really nicely. I like it. It's a unique story. It's got that obviously the seasons means you can change the seasons when you've got that ability. So you can make it winter to make the environment change for you, like you saw in that clip just then, which is a cool mechanic. I thought it was really neat.
That's quite advanced for the time. Like, what kind of changes do you see? I've not played this one, and when I'm hearing both of you speak and looking at the footage, I'm kind of like, oh, where's the remake like they did with Link's Awakening for the Switch 2, you know? So what are the kind of changes you do see with some of the seasons? Because that's pretty advanced for like a Game Boy game.
When you very first start the game, the main antagonist, I forget the name, it's like Hourglass or something like that, has sort of kidnapped Din, and because she's in this game, she's kind of like, she's like a goddess on Earth, and she kind of keeps like the seasons in balance, and when she's taken out of the picture, all the seasons going to go haywire. So one moment you're in spring, and then you've crossed a couple of screens and you've come back, and then it's suddenly winter, and you talk to some of the characters and they say, oh, it's terrible, like we just had spring and now it's like it's gone, it's snowing now, and like, and they're obviously very unhappy about everything that's going on. Look, it's a cool concept for a game of its day. Like they did pack in a lot of interesting dynamic mechanics.
Yeah, nice.
I thought, was this one developed by? This was not Capcom.
This is Capcom as well.
It was Capcom as well. Yes, that's what I thought. Yeah.
So another Capcom developed Legend of Zelda game.
I wonder, and hopefully there aren't any licensing issues around that if Nintendo owns the IP, as they do, to recreate it. I really hope this is something we see announced down the track, because there's clearly a broad library of top-down 2D games that could be recreated on the Switch 2 and compatible with the Switch using that Link's Awakening and Oracle of Wisdom art style. So yeah, just looking at the footage, it's like, oh, I might be able to go back and try the old Game Boy game, although I think my limit tends to be the Game Boy Advance in terms of visuals and mechanics, because I didn't grow up in that era. But yeah, it's nice to see the joy that this game brought both of you. I feel like I missed out again. But speaking of remakes and remasters, we do need to move on to the 2019 remake of The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. And I think both of you can probably recall as, long-time Switch owners, people are really excited about the launch of the Switch and what games are coming. This was a real shock when it came out. And I remember the reveal for this and having not played it, thinking this is probably the best looking game on the system at that time. And it's still probably one of the best looking games on that system, in my view, maybe right up there with Luigi's Mansion 3 or Pikmin 4. But The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening was a new experience for me too. One of the first and the very first Legend of Zelda game I played through to the end. I felt like it was a bite-sized option and it'd come to the Switch, so it was perfect timing to get on board. I think I was initially shocked by some of the limitations, like the 2 buttons. I was like, oh, this is still a Game Boy game in some way. And the kind of, even though it didn't have the contained screens like the original Game Boy did, the camera sort of follows Link left and right, just seeing that it's segmented. But you feel like you're in a diorama with this game. It's just so gorgeous to look at. It just, I think Nintendo could have gone with another direction. They could have done a pixel art style game like we see with the 2D HD Dragon Quest remakes or Octopath Traveler series, or something else entirely. But this kind of toy aesthetic looks perfect for this game. I really enjoyed playing it for the first time. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Link is basically on his very dodgy-looking boat, gets caught up in a storm, washed on a beach in Koholint Island, I think it is. And Marin comes across, and Zelda is nowhere to be seen. Ganon is nowhere to be seen, but some other weird characters from other Nintendo franchises are everywhere to be seen, and we'll come back to those. And essentially, Link is tasked with finding these musical instruments to wake up the windfish, which I don't understand why the windfish is in an egg on top of a volcano. I think I've beaten the game and I think I still need someone to explain that to me, but I know what does happen in this game quite well. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really fantastic, just top-down adventure. Like the combat still holds up. There's lots of cute little visual details like the footprints in the sand, or even just the clouds going around the windfish egg has just really stood out to me. Graphics in gaming is important to me, but graphics done well is really important to me. The main thing that I really liked about this is just all the wacky Nintendo stuff that you see in there. So I kind of thought it was hilarious when there was a shop where there's like a grab game. I'm not sure what those claws that you get at the cinemas. There's one of those games. And then you can get Yoshi dolls. But then later on, you come across Kirby, of all people, and he's just there and he sucks you. And you're like, whoa, Kirby, what are you doing? You're in the wrong game. And why are you fighting me? You're meant to be the nice one, Kirby. Don't do that. But I remember this game most because there's a lot of little quirky things, but my favorite is the dog. I think it's called Bow Wow. It's a chain chomp from the Mario games. And there's an escort mission where you've got to take, I think it is Bow Wow, correct me if I'm wrong, like from one point to another. And I didn't want to let go because Bow Wow just chews the absolute heck out of everything around. I was like, this is better than my boomerang. This is better than my sword. Bow Wow is doing my job for me. I wish I could keep you for the whole game. Yeah, Johnny, what about your views on this game? Did you play the original Link's Awakening, and did you play the 2019 remake? And what did you think?
Yeah, I haven't played. I haven't played these games all the way through to completion. It's still on my backlog to try and finish the remake of Link's Awakening. But then I think there's a lot of charm to the original '93 game for the Game Boy. So I've played a fair bit of both. Really like just the creativity that went into the story for the '93 Link's Awakening. It was very they made a game that was really different from the previous Zelda entries. They took a lot of risks to give us a really different adventure with different characters. It wasn't, as you said, John, it wasn't Zelda and Ganon. It was new characters in a new new kingdom outside of Hyrule by the looks of it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of charm, lot to be said for the not just the Link's Awakening remake, but the original that released in '93.
Jemma, how about you? What did you think when this was announced for the 2019 remake on the Switch? Did you play the original, and where does this game kind of land for you in terms of the series and what you like the
Yeah.
highlights for you?
I played the original, yes.
Oh
And
wow,
I think,
nice.
yeah. I think I kind of said this before with the Seasons and Ages games, but it's amazing what they packed into that little Game Boy cartridge because,
Mm,
as you're seeing now, like it's obviously the color's not there, but it's this is a big game for a Game Boy game,
mm,
right? Like they did such a good job with this, and it's one of those games. And one of the things I think I love about the series in general, as we've gone through all these games, they're all so different. Like think about
mm,
Minish Cap, Link's Awakening is on an island with with the crazy egg on a volcano.
mm,
The original is different to Link to the Past. Then you've got, there's other sequels we haven't even mentioned, like Link Between Worlds, and then there's Echoes of Wisdom, which I briefly mentioned. And I think
mm.
you mentioned the remake being graphically quite lovely, which it is, honestly. You didn't mention Echoes of Wisdom though, which has this which has the same style and aesthetic and
Yes.
looks quite nice too. I would love to see more done in this vein.
Mm,
And I love
yeah.
that you touched on it could have been a 2D HD port
Mm,
or remake, but it wasn't. And we see a lot of those from like Square Enix, right? They have their place and they're nice in their own way. I much prefer this though. I think this
mm.
is just beautiful and lovely. And imagine how this would look on the Switch 2. Well, is there a Switch 2 version for this?
Well,
I'm
I
not sure
think
now,
the
actually.
issue with the Switch version was the poor frame rate. And God help anyone who wants to
Yes.
put on the Pegasus boots and do anything with those boots, because when you charge through, the frame rate just chops up. And the longer you play the game
Hmm.
without reloading, it chops up. So it's not perfect, but it's manageable.
Yes, that's true. And that happened with Echoes of Wisdom too. When you chop in
Ah,
the grass, it was just a bit of a delay with the frame rates. So,
that's for fourth
yeah.
wall breaking, choppy grass, chopping the grass. They did that deliberately, Gemma. It's all sorted. Yeah,
Yes.
this
So I
this
know Echoes of Wisdom had a Switch 2 version. I don't remember if this two, like an upgrade kind of thing. I don't know if
yeah,
this one did.
might have been one of those upgrades that weren't announced. Like there were some games like
Mm,
Bayonetta 3, for example, just plays better on the Switch too, but it didn't get a formal
mm,
upgrade pack
Mm.
or just
yeah.
patch notes and then a spotlight by Nintendo. So something to
Hmm.
investigate for sure, or a reason to go back and play it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I have a confession because although I own this game on the Switch, I actually haven't played it. I've It's been on my backlog. I've played the original, like I said, so I'm familiar with it, but I bought it years ago and I just have not played it.
Not enough games to play. Hey,
Not, yeah, exactly. So it's a good reason to go and play it and on the Switch too and see how that goes because
yeah.
I mean it's a fantastic game. So and
Well,
like yeah.
from what I read, there were like a lot of quality of life updates, which I'm not familiar with compared
Mm,
to the
mm-hmm,
Game Boy version. Like you can put notes on the map, for example, that are just like really helpful.
mm-hmm,
And then it's not segmented anymore. It just the camera follows you around quite cleanly, and inventory management is better too. So it does, even though it feels like an older game, you probably return to it
mm-hmm.
and still have a good time. And you probably see it in fresh light, having played the original as well.
Yes. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it. Exactly. Yeah. I
Well,
will. That will be my homework. I'll go and play that.
yeah, more games to play. Well, we do have a couple of games left that we want to wrap up with, and these are Gemma specials, we will call them, because this takes us through to the DS era. Looking at the Phantom Hourglass and also Spirit Tracks. Do you want to start with the Phantom Hourglass, Gemma, and let us know a
Yeah,
bit about that
sure.
one? Because I've not played that, and Johnny, I'm not sure if you have as well, but I did
Play
look
a
into it and I was like,
little bit of Phantom Hourglass. Played more of Spirit Tracks. Yeah.
cool, excellent,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you would love this actually, John, because it is a direct sequel to Wind Waker, which I think you mentioned was
Storyline
one of your
wise, it's not its
favorites.
own little
Yeah.
universe or anything. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's a
Uh,
direct sequel. So Tetra from that game is
yeah.
kidnapped at the start of this one.
By a
And
giant
basically
bird
you're
in this time, or is it something else this time?
what is it that kidnaps her? I'm not even sure I remember now, actually. I think it was a monster you don't even see. I think it was on a ship. She got pulled in and something happens and you get knocked out. You get knocked unconscious and then you wake up and she's gone. So you have to go
Ah,
and rescue her. And
nice.
enlists the help of Captain Linebeck, who is one of the funniest characters, I think, in the entire series. He's this kind of not jaded exactly, but he's about the money, right? He's about the fame. He's a bit like a Han Solo type, maybe, kind of,
No, but I was
bit
thinking
of a
more
rogue.
Jack Sparrow almost.
Yeah, a bit of a sort of a pirate
Yeah.
larrikin type of person. So he's hilarious and he's great. And then so you kind of enlist him to go and help find Tetra. And along the way, of course, he becomes wrapped up in the story, and there's a whole thing there as well. But I guess there's a few things that stand out. A, this is on the DS, so it uses the stylus, which I thought at first I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want a control link with the controls, but it works really well. And so it's going to be very hard, I think, for you to try to play this now, because I don't know how you'd get it unless you found it on eBay or something, if you don't already have it, because the eShop doesn't exist anymore, so you can't download it. So you need a secondhand copy and a DS, or yeah, if you have a DS, you have a DS.
I
Do you still have one?
I still
I think
have my
Johnny
DS.
does, though, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still have my DS. There's a big rumor
there's the
going
stylus, yeah.
big rumor going around that DS might be one of the next libraries for NSO. There's apparently Nintendo's been locking down patents and things to do with it.
Wow,
So
that would be exciting.
that
then
would
you
be
can
very
definitely
exciting.
play it.
If
I mean the
DS
Switch
library
has. I wonder if they'd make you turn it sideways so you could have the top, sort of a dual screen, but in one screen. But it'd be a vertical approach, and then you could draw. You need a special stylus, but the game could come with a stylus, I suppose.
I kind of, after Virtual Boy, I think just anything is possible now for Switch Online.
Wasn't that a surprise? Yes. I bought one. I got one.
Oh, good. Good on you. I was going to say, I mean, it is the 40th anniversary, so it'd be interesting if the DS rumors collide with the 40th anniversary and we see this game brought to fore later this year, or a remake. I don't know. I just like the idea of remakes where possible, so we'll see. But story-wise, did you enjoy this game, Gemma? And does it have all those kind of like core Zelda hallmarks?
Yes, absolutely. There's an interesting mechanic with the thing with see, there's your ships from Wind Waker. So there is a ship element. The Hourglass itself, it has the sands that go through. There's a special temple. And now I've lost the name of it. Sorry, I'm so bad with names of things. The Master Temple, the King Temple. I can't remember. Johnny, help me out. There is this one temple you go back to, which is pretty unique for the series. Usually it's you go to a temple, you go to another temple, you go to another temple. This one, there are other temples, but you do have this main temple you have to revisit quite often. And the more sand you get for your hourglass, the longer you can stay in it, because there are these zones that are dangerous and they suck out the life of Link. So you have to kind of run from safety area to safety area, which is a really fun mechanic. And you draw a line if you want to go where you want to go. You have the guards. It's one of those things where the guards are walking around, the phantoms, I think they're called, and they are invincible, basically. So you kind of have to avoid them. And I love that in some of these Zelda games where you're kind of waiting behind a wall for someone to walk away and then you kind of dash around, like that sort of thing. So as you get more your hourglass upgrades, you get to travel further and further into this temple, this big temple. So it's a really unique mechanic that I don't think exists anywhere else in the whole series. Maybe Spirit Tracks has a similar thing in a way, I think, but then that has the whole Zelda in the little body thing. That's a whole different thing. But it has all the staples. It's got your swords, it's got your bombs, it has the pots you can smash that you've just seen there on the screen. The jellies. I think it has electric jellies.
Chickens?
Too,
Does it have chickens you can throw and slash the chickens and then they turn on you?
That is a good question. I was going to mention the chickens earlier because I think that was...
We'll come back to the chickens, don't worry. We'll come back to the chickens.
It does have a fairy, though, which we haven't mentioned, because fairies are somewhat part and parcel in some games. I don't know, not every game, though, right? So, yeah. I don't know, how do you feel about the fairy companions? Because some people love them, some people not so much. Some people hate Navi from Ocarina of Time. So.
That's true. I loved the wishing well fairy in A Link to the Past, who's like, throw something in and I'll throw it back to you, make bet. I'm like, yes, please. Here it comes. Everything I've got. And then come back, upgraded items. Yes, please.
As long as you're honest about it. She rewards your honesty.
Well, she does say that. She goes, I like honest people. Right. And you're like, okay. I screenshotted that, actually, because I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. And compared to everything else, a lot of the other characters they do, it was kind of like, this is kind of like nice as well. You're giving something and having like positive interaction. Johnny, what about you? You played a bit of the Phantom Hourglass?
I haven't played as much of Phantom Hourglass. I played a lot more of Spirit Tracks because I bought a DS when I lived in Japan, and one of the DS titles that happened to be out at the time was Spirit Tracks. And being a big Zelda fan, it was one of the first games I picked up for the DS. That's also a bit of a spiritual successor to Wind Waker in some ways. I feel like instead of a boat, you've got a train now. You go around on your train, and I think it's been a while since I've played this, but you almost you need, correct me if I'm wrong, Gemma, but you almost need to go through some of the dungeons so that you can keep building the tracks that get you around the place. But yeah, there's a lot. This is a great one if you're a Wind Waker fan, because it's very much it's very much a spiritual sequel, successor to Wind Waker, but in obviously that top-down view, which has got a lot of charm. What did you think of Spirit Tracks, Gemma?
Oh, I loved it. I think it's great. I think the train mechanic was something different, and again, another different game for the series. Like, how imaginative are they when they're coming up with, let's see what Link does on a train? Who would have thought that would be a thing? I think it's great. And it perfectly suited the DS because it has the touchscreen, right? So you can see they're drawing a line on the map to make the train go this way. And there were enemy trains that would come at you, and you could change the track, just like you could make it go left or right. So you have to avoid it, try to beat it, or hide around a corner. Like there was a sort of a circle track, and so you try to go around and let the enemy train go up, and so you could go the other way. So cool. So fun. Yeah, I really loved it. And that's right there, as Zelda is in that little statue suit of armor, whatever it is, as a spirit. So we won't go into spoilers as to why that's happening, but that was another cool mechanic that this game introduced, where you controlled Zelda, sort of, in a way. I really like this game. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, I was saying earlier that I'm a Wind Waker fan. I didn't have a DS and play these games, and so I don't quite have that nostalgia, and I'd be like, oh, the pixels, I can see the pixels on the screen, and I'd find it hard to go back to that, having not had that experience. But Nintendo, because you do watch our podcast and the Pure Nintendo podcast, listen to us, create remakes of these. I would like them announced for this year, in time with the 40th anniversary, as well as everything else you didn't do on the 40th anniversary day. Looking forward to that. Well, we do need to move on. People of Perth, moving on. Before we wrap up, there's so much to the Legend of Zelda series, the 3D series and the top-down 2D series we're focusing on today. We do need to go through a couple of highlights for us personally. Johnny, I'm going to throw to you, and we're going to start with your favorite item in particular, because there are some core items across these games, and then some have unique items. So what is your favorite kind of item? And it can be the trusty shield or whatever you want it to be, but what is your favorite item across the Zelda series of games?
Hands down, my favorite item is still the hook shot from A Link to the Past. I've done some playthroughs of A Link to the Past where I've just decided I'll basically use the hook shot as much as I can and not worry about the sword that much, because it's so much fun bouncing, throwing it at enemies and doing that kind of thing. And it's very addictive. It's got a very kind of like the sound effect it makes, that chain sound is kind of really kind of fun. So and it's from my favorite dungeon and in the A Link to the Past game. So yeah, hands down the hook shot.
Awesome. Jemma, how about you? Do you have like a favorite item or weapon?
Well, I mean, mine is the same. Like, honestly.
It's that good. It's your hooks on the hook shot. It's the best.
Yes, you can't go past the hook shot. Absolutely. Yes, I would say hands down also. I've always loved the hook shot. Yeah.
Nice.
I love you mentioned the sound effects, because that's just a small but key part of it that does make that cool noise as it goes across. Back.
Yeah.
It's just a terrific item. Yeah. I mean, there are lots of great items across the series. You mentioned the Pegasus boots. Items that make you run faster or jump or stronger, boulders and things like that. But the hook shot, yeah, it's great. What about
Nice.
you? Do you have one?
Yeah, so I like the boomerang. So like the boomerang's
Yeah.
pretty cool across the mall, whether you got to buy it or you get it. But when I found out there's like a magic boomerang, I think it's called in Link to the Past, I was like, yes, please. This thing goes half the screen across, and I'm just throwing that thing left, right, and center as I'm exploring. I'm like, yes, I'm not wasting arrows. Yes, it's knocking stuff out of the sky. Yes, it's like freezing enemies. Can I just say I really hate those like soldiers with bows, or the moblins with spears, or the cyclops with like bombs.
Yeah.
Everyone's got ranged attacks. I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to skill up and throw my magic boomerang. It's such a satisfying moment to get that in the game, because the boomerang is just a little bit short range, and I struggle with the boomerang in Minish Cap. It was just a bit short range, but the magic boomerang in A Link to the Past, absolute fun. Right up
Yeah,
there
I
with,
think
with,
the
with the
thing
hook
that
shot.
is awesome about the boomerang is that it's been around since the beginning, right? Like
Mm.
that was almost the first weapon after the sword,
Yeah.
right? In the original game. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's like a classic Link weapon for sure.
Mm.
Do
Yeah.
you mean that the boomerang keeps coming back, Gemma? Is that what you're trying to say? All right, we're moving on. We're moving on
Yes.
to our favourite dungeons. Johnny, I'm going to throw to you. You know the dungeons quite well across quite a few of these games. What was your
Yeah.
favourite dungeon or
So,
animal?
as viewers from Perth and beyond will know, previously on the show, I've told people how much I love the water dungeon it's the second dungeon in the Dark World of A Link to the Past. And I have so much time for Argus, the dungeon master, and his strategy, or her strategy, I'm not sure about the gender, of throwing its young at you as a defense mechanism. And they're like these little fuzzy ball things, and you use the hook shot, of course, to like pick them off one at a time and reveal Argus's form as this like one-eyed kind of squid thing that dashes around the screen. I think that's pretty classic. Always a fan of that particular water dungeon.
Nice, yeah, really cool. Well, mine's similar. Like I like the droplets dungeon, which is in the Minish Cap. So it's the water dungeon for that Legend of Zelda game, but it integrates like ice and it integrates like use of the sun. So it's a multi-layered dungeon, but not in the painful Ocarina of Time water dungeon way. It's actually quite straightforward, really well segmented, and use like a really good mix of your items at that point in time, like the gust bellows to go across the leaf to go across the water, but then you'll get out the lantern to like just defrost these big chunks of ice, and then you'll need your hammer to smash down stuff as well. It's quite clever in that like one level, like there are big gaps in the floor, and if you use a switch it closes the gap, but then it blocks the sun, so you need that sun to defrost different parts of the dungeon, and it culminates in like you go to find where like the final boss room is, and instead of like a traditional boss room, it's a giant octarock or something like that, and it's frozen. So you just know it's coming. You're like, oh, I kind of need to like unfreeze this guy, but I don't really want to. And then you do, and then you go, oh, okay. You get to the end of the dungeon, and it's really cool. And then you use an integration of like the different weapons. So yeah, quite just like that. And it wasn't overly long, because I have to admit, some of the dungeons in some of the games can go on for a bit, or you feel like I'm ready just to get to the end. I've used like 5 keys. Where's the big key? I want the big key. Gemma, how about you? Do you have like a favorite quest or dungeon that's most memorable for you across any of these games?
I don't know. It's hard to pick one. I think I will say that I like fire-based dungeons probably the best. And typically I don't enjoy the water ones.
Mm,
But it's more of a 3D game thing. I just find myself really disliking water-based dungeons in the 3D games. 2D games not so much, but usually those water ones, even in the 2D ones, you have to like let water go in and out to make
mm.
things, and it's great, it's inventive, it's creative. I don't know, it's not my
No,
favorite.
I
But
agree. And the droplet, and I should have added the droplets dungeon doesn't actually do that. Like it's a nice twist on the water dungeon where you're not refilling the water and then going back 5 times. Sorry to interrupt. I was like, that's why it's the best the whole time.
Absolutely. I love in the original game though how the dungeons all had those cool shapes though. They were all shaped like something. I thought that I always loved that as a kid. I think and then they got bigger as you went along. And even the music in the original game, it's very simple, but it's very effective in the dungeons. It's kind of that do 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 do. It's really
Atmospheric.
foreboding, atmospheric. Yes. So I think dungeons in general. I don't know if I have a particular favorite, but those are my thoughts on dungeons. But yeah, always love fire ones. I don't know if that's like I always like the Bowser levels in Mario or the Bowser Mario Kart levels as well. I don't know why fire. I'm a fire sign. I'm an Aries, so maybe it's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they are. And I was playing through A Link to the Past recently, and one of the dungeons in there is full on Mario dungeon. It was just like, hang on, there's like a fire wheel, and I was like, what's going on? And then in that dungeon, there's a new enemy type, which is like the beetles. Like they just drop around, and you can't hit them with your sword. You have to turn them over with your hammer. It's like, hang on, there's a little bit of Mario going on here. Like, where are the boos when I need them? So yeah, there's a bit of cross-game pollination or whatever it is going on. We do need to wrap up soon, though. But I think everyone, what we might do is just finishing with what is one of our favorite things, just things that we haven't mentioned about the top-down 2D Legend of Zelda series. Can be anything: the music, the puzzles, the characters, anything about it in particular. Johnny, you are ready to go. Look at that smile on your face, my friend. What is your favorite thing, if you can simplify what that would be?
I think it's the naming of all the things is so bizarre and out there that has to be called out. Like you mentioned chickens before, and in Zelda they're not chickens. I think they're actually cuckoos, and and the bats are geese.
Really? Yeah.
The knights running around in their little armor, I think they're dark nuts for some reason. And then there's a little, like, I don't know how to describe them. They're the little kind of worm things that try and eat your shield. They're called likes. So
because they should be called likes.
Yeah, because they like your shields. I guess they like them too much. They got to say the word twice. So my favorite thing about Zelda is that the world, almost a little bit like Tolkien, which is probably a bit of an inspiration for Zelda in some respects. The world has its own language, its own range of weird and wonderful terminology. Yeah, so that's always been a standout for me. That's so creative.
It's awesome. Jemma, how about you? What's your favorite thing about?
Such a good answer, honestly. I will show. I have
just beat that one now. Good luck.
No chance.
Give me time to think about mine.
I do have a lot of amiibo. I thought I won't show the Tears of the Kingdom type of ones or the Breath of the Wild, but I do have the original. This is still boxed. It's the 8-bit Link.
Nice one.
There. And then, of course, that's the Link's Awakening Link. So I'm a big amiibo collector. I think I have all the Zelda amiibo now. So I do love them. What can I say? I think I mentioned the sort of the variety, and I would get super excited anytime, and I still will. If they announce a new Zelda game tomorrow that's 2D, I'll be like, yes, I am so on board for that. Echoes of Wisdom that I've mentioned a couple of times, even though you weren't really Link in that game, of course, you were Zelda, but I was so excited to get a new top-down Zelda game. Absolutely beyond excited. I thought that was great.
Did you want to touch on Echoes of Wisdom as well while we're here?
Sure. I mean, it was another different entry, right? Like you're playing as Zelda. You have this cool mechanic where you create objects that you see that you can copy from around the world. I loved it. I love Tri, the fairy. I thought she was great. I think the style, of course, has that Link's Awakening style that we've seen on the Switch. That's what I love about the series, though, the most, is that every new game is different and unique and special and wonderful. And that is why I want more. But,
it's a 40th anniversary. It's a fair request.
It's a 40th anniversary, yes. Although I would like to say I could have a game a year kind of thing. But in a way, it's good that they do have these gaps because it would be too much and it gives us something to look forward to and get excited about. It's not quite Metroid in terms of we're not waiting that long, but it is a bit of a gap. Yeah, if you haven't played this though, I would highly recommend Echoes of Wisdom. It's got some very clever puzzles, very very tricky because you're creating things to get to places. Yeah, it's an interesting premise. I really enjoyed it. I loved going to this world that's kind of more the cartoony world after playing, you know, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. There's such big, epic kind of outings. Something like this was much more grounded and, not that it was more fun, but it was just more of that classic Zelda feel that was a bit more fun, if that makes sense. Yeah. I just do like just a small thing when they do have the side scrolling parts, which has always been in the game since the original game. Suddenly Link will have to go down some ladders and then go across and hit the keys slash bats and then go back up the other side. And that's been in, I don't know, almost all of them, I think. I love that.
True.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I think even though I haven't played a broad range of the top-down 2D Zelda games and I've played more of the 3D ones, I think it's the integration of like core elements that you expect as a player going into this game. So it's like, oh, I know my shield, it won't block everything, but it will block the arrows on the side where my shield is, for example. Or it's when you stand on like a panel in a dungeon and you know there's that sound that's going to be like click. There's a really satisfying sound to it. Or even just knowing you see a big patch of grass, you're like, I need to mow that lawn. I need to mow that lawn and get all the money out of it. I've earned my rupees. or it's like knowing you're going to like discover these like kind of quirky, funny, interesting characters. And some of them are in multiple games. When I was playing the Minish Cap and there's a school in that game and there's this boy with a snotty nose, I was like, that's the kid from the Wind Waker, and that's my child. And all that stuff resonates with me because of my own children. I'm like, you're here again. And he started following me. I'm like, oh, you're following me again. Like, like, it was really kind of, I think the way Nintendo or Capcom, ties in these experiences where you're going to expect something in these games. Like, there are the puzzles, there are the dungeons, there is some form of guidance. Even if the game has Ganon or doesn't, there are things you're going to expect. And above all, you're going to expect a really good time. You're going to expect a surreal, fun adventure, whether it's on the original Game Boy or whether it's on the Nintendo Switch. There's something there for everyone. But people of Perth and beyond, that is all we have time for. We hope you've really enjoyed our top-down 2D Zelda special. It's been one long in the making, and I know Johnny in particular, with A Link to the Past being your favourite game of all time, one I've really looked forward to doing together with you and you too, Jemma, because of your love for the series and all your work over on the Pure Nintendo podcast. Before we go, are there any final words from both of you? Johnny, I will start with you. Any final words to the people in Perth and beyond who either have played these games or haven't played these games that you want to share?
All I was going to say is get out there and try a 2D Zelda game, whether it's one of the new ones like Echoes of Wisdom, which is fantastic. I'm still currently playing through that. I haven't quite finished that one, but I hope to soon. Get amongst it. There's so much good 2D Zelda. And fear not, fans of 3D Zelda. We will, in the not too distant future, come back to maybe do a series spotlight on the 3D Zelda games because they're great too. Can't lie.
Just maybe, hey? Jemma, how about you? Any final words to the people of Perth and beyond?
Thank you for having me on the show. It's always a good time chatting to you guys in particular, but always fun to talk about Zelda, of course. I think looking back at the history, 40 years, it's hard to believe. So many games. Do we have a number? Do we know off the top of our heads how many Zelda games are there?
Well, we covered about 8 today, maybe 9. Yeah. There's a lot.
There's a lot. There's got to be 20 or so. So there's a lot of games, a lot of love. It is a very popular series. I think Johnny hit the nail on the head. If you haven't tried them for whatever reason, definitely give them a try. We've given you plenty to go to today, 8 at least to try, whether it's Minish Cap, Echoes of Wisdom, Link's Awakening, Link to the Past. There's a lot to work through, and I think there's something special about them. So I'd love to know what a newer generation is feeling about these older games, whether they get into them as easily as we do, because we've got the nostalgic factor as well, of course. But yeah, let's see what Nintendo does to celebrate the 40th, hopefully, at some point. Give us something cool.
Yes, I mean, Nintendo's ignored their 40th anniversary, so to speak, so far. There's a big spotlight on Mario and some of the
Mhm.
more recent Switch 2 exclusives or upgraded releases. But let's not kid ourselves. Something is coming, and probably more than one thing, people of Perth and beyond. So hold on to your horses. Keep an eye out. That Nintendo Direct or that Nintendo app update will drop something at some point. We'll all be there to cover it in our shows, but as for now, have a great rest of the weekend, and that is all from the Perth Gaming Crew show and Pure Nintendo. Over and out. See you later.
Bye.